Trails Collective, what's up? It's Ian weighing in here for the weekly rundown for the week ending October 1st, 2021. Hopefully you're all out there getting some fall miles in. I think collectively as a region we had a really beautiful weekend. Trails I think are in fairly decent shape despite the really heavy rainfall this season. So hopefully you're doing something fun out there. It was a really busy weekend on the at least event front. Probably the past couple weeks ahead, just a lot of races going in this crunch fall time window. So if you're in some of those, hopefully you are having good days or nights out there. And yeah, so season's changing over. Hasn't been a whole lot of new stuff on the Trails Collective and Finger Lakes Running shop front. I did put in some miles in the Innovate Max shoe for the first time yesterday. It's the Ultrafly G300, I think. Yeah, G300. Most of my miles have been in the context of coaching recently, coaching for the Ithaca College women's team as an assistant. So I haven't been able to get many dedicated trail miles in, but finally put some miles into this. I'll try to get another run or two into it before I do some sort of a review on it. But that is in the Trails Collective store. We've got at least some of the sizes in men's if you are so inclined to want to check it out. We also replenished some of the sizes in the Ultra G270. I think we've got some core sizes in men's and women's on the Innovate front. Some apparel that arrived, I think this week, if not yesterday, was some of the new seasonal stuff from Patagonia. One is the R1 Air Full Zip Hoodie. Pretty, for those of you who haven't experienced any of the Air fabrics from Patagonia, it's really quite amazing on just the comfort level, both with activity as well as just kind of kicking around, wearing it casually. Really amazingly functional apparel. Also, so that way we got in men's and women's on the full zip hoodie. Also in the men's, we got some more of the Airshed Pro pullover. The breathability of this is a shell meant to be paired with something else, even in really harsh conditions in terms of cold during the winter. It breathes really well, so you're not going to immediately start just overheating and sweating, even when you're pairing up the layers. But another beautiful top, really functional. Has a dual zip front and bottom for ventilation as well. And the model that we have in also with a really nice functional hood there. So we'll try to be uploading those to the customs or to get the product loaded on the Trails Collective site, but we do have them in store. Also got some of the women's. I don't think we were able to get any in the men's in of the Storm Racer jacket from Patagonia. Also a really highly featured piece in terms of fully waterproof zipping front and on basically a dual front zip to access bottles if you're wearing a race vest. Really nice functional hood and has more features. So hopefully we'll get that up, but check it out. Also, I think recently maybe got some more accessories in from Salomon. Salomon's inventory has been pretty crazy this year. Probably the worst of any of our brands in terms of availability. Don't remember whether this color was just buried, but in some of the accessories in the bags, really nice travel pack from Salomon. So some stuff rolling into the Trails Collective shop. Check it out if you haven't. And yeah, so that's what's going on, at least on the storefront. In the media, so into this episode, I'll run you through a media piece that caught my attention. The UltraSignUp Hotlist. We've got some FKTs from throughout the region. One of them will weigh in from a voice on a really long effort that just went down. And then we have results from the region, from Virginia up through, let's see, past week was up through Vermont in the northern part of the region. And we've got a number of voices in from these races. And then I'll take you out with just some of the races coming up this weekend. All right, so let's dig into it a little bit. Checking back in, I haven't in a bit with What's Shaking with the Culture Trail Running Podcast World. Episode number 156 released. It was on the 25th, released on the 25th last week. It was titled Running Your First 100 Miler with Crutch Lee. I haven't listened to the episode, but it's not only no doubt entertaining, but may also provide some good tips on tackling a 100 from someone who's tried and not always succeeded. For the UltraSignUp Hotlist, the Gritty Leaks Trail Marathon running November 6th in Goochland, Virginia is on track at 90%, is on the warning track at 90% full. Western Maryland Rail Trail 10K, half marathon and marathons running October 17th in Hancock, Maryland are up 3% this week to being 94% full. So you probably have 2 weeks before that caps out. The Womp Romp 10 miler, it's quite the name there, slated for October 23rd in Hingham, Mass. It's a first year event. It's 97% full. It's running at Wampatuck State Park, which is just 35 minutes from downtown Boston. And the Friends of Kinder Farm Park Fall Fun Day in Millersville, Maryland on October 9th is 98% full. All right, let's get into some of the FKTs. Bethany Gerritsen of Keene, New York is featured on fastestknowntime.com's podcast, episode number 156. It's titled FKTs Have Become the Perfect Niche. She talks on the importance of mental health, living off-grid, and time spent as a wilderness therapy instructor. So check out that episode from a pretty phenomenal and tough runner in our region, Bethany Gerritsen. All right, in Massachusetts, Kate Mingle, 3 hours, 14 minutes for the Whitehall-Upton Loop. It's a 20.7-mile circuit. It was initially posted by Ben Nephew, who commented on Whitehall and Upton State Parks having some of the best single track in the region. That says a bit, given Ben's depth of experience on the regional trail networks. Kate's unsupported women's mark lowers Brenda Fortin's 2020 mark by 48 minutes. Nice work, Kate. In New Hampshire, Ashley Euland, 4 hours, 45 minutes for the Owl's Head, 17.3-mile route tagging the True Summit, which wasn't, I think, discovered. I think it sounded like for a while the Fall Summit was thought to be the True Summit, and they had to shift it. I think it was like 2005 or 2007. At 4,025-foot summit proper in the Pemi Wilderness. Ashley's unsupported women's mark lowers Jessica Casterline's 2020 mark by 1 hour and 48 minutes. That's a solid pickup. Jennifer Weimers and Grace Long, 4 hours 52 minutes for the Sugar River Recreational Rail Trail. And in New York, Brian Stewart and Jeff Adams, 4 hours 10 minutes for the City of Buffalo Perimeter. And then a big one, Trisha Ignatowski, 7 days, 26 minutes for the Erie Canalway Trail. This is a 363-mile traverse across northern New York from Albany to Buffalo, tracing one of the longest man-made waterways in North America in a route that is 80% off-road. The trail was formally and fully completed in 2021, which opened up the first FKT marks just this year. And Trisha's mark is an opening women's unsupported mark. Trisha did check in. Actually, we connected, I think it was probably a couple months ago when she was conceiving of the effort, and she was going to follow up when she picked it off or got it through, and she did just that. So Trisha is with us for a clip this week to take us through that pretty incredible effort. So Trisha, take us in.
Hi, I'm Trisha Ignatowski, and I just completed the FKT for the Erie Canal pathway. What the Erie Canal is a 360-mile canal system, now trailway, connecting Buffalo to Albany. It's pretty cool. It was originally constructed in 1825, and it was built to create a water route from New York City all the way to the Great Lakes for trade. And from there on, it expanded to Buffalo, which greatly impacted the development of all the major cities across New York State. So it was very cool to see all the historical markers and different locks along the way and kind of see the history of New York State itself through this journey. My main inspiration for doing this 360-mile run was I actually grew up near Rochester and spent a lot of time learning about the Erie Canal, although they definitely lied in school. The song was 15 miles in the Erie Canal. I would like to adjust that lyric slightly. A little bit longer than 15 miles, but I just really wanted to see New York State through all the way across and be able to see all those cool towns that I grew up near and the ones that I never got to see. It was definitely a journey. My plan was to do, about around 50 plus miles a day. The trail itself is actually 365, so I needed to adjust for the extra 15 miles. So about every other day I added 3 or 4 miles in. It took me just over 7 days to do. I split up the last day into 43 and then 10 because I really wanted to finish in the daylight instead of finishing in downtown Albany in the dark. I thought that would be much nicer, and it really was. I had, for my crew, my boyfriend was in a minivan the whole time. Bless him, he did a great job. He ended up finding me about every 5 or 6 miles, and then I pretty much just ate a lot of mashed potatoes, a lot of ice cream, chips, jerky, some hamburgers, a lot of stuff along the way. My stomach never really gave me too many issues. Around day 5, I just didn't really feel like eating anymore. I think I was just tired of chewing. But for the most part, I got really good nutrition in. I was very fortunate along the way to have a lot of friends live across New York State that were able to jump in and help. The previous FKT record holder who actually did it, Ken Burke, he did it while doing the whole Empire State Trail, so he absolutely crushed that earlier on, and then got the FKT before for the Erie Canal during it, because the Empire State Trail actually starts in New York City. But he actually helped me with finding some tricky spots in the trail and mentioning all the spots he had trouble finding the signs with, which was super cool to talk to someone else that has done it and get help from them. That was awesome to have. And then it's very popular for bike packing, so I actually ended up making friends with a few couples who were bike packing the whole Erie Canal at the same time I was running it, and we were doing about the same distance every day. So we would see each other every day and check in and see where we were ending and where each person was going each day. The highs were definitely, there were so many crushed gravel sections and just trail sections where there's beautiful trees, beautiful landscapes I was crossing. The lows were definitely when I was getting around towards Syracuse and Utica, where it was just a lot of pavement in a row and my body was getting a little tired. I ended up having a tiny bit of an ankle issue from tying my left shoe too tightly, and it restricted movement, so I had to tape that for the rest of the time and hope it held up for the last like 200 miles, which it did, which is great. But overall, it was an amazing experience. I was so glad that I did it. I still can't believe I did it. It kind of seemed like, well, maybe it'll happen. I've been training for this for like 3 or 4 years now. This has been the idea in my head. But with any ultra, as anyone knows, anything can go wrong. Your day can be cut short any time. So the fact that I was able to do it and still feel pretty good towards the last day and be able to run pretty much most of it. I was doing 20 minutes on, running 5 minutes off until about the last day, and then I was just running until I felt tired, and then would take about like a 3 or 4 minute walking break. This definitely helped me keep pace the whole way and be pretty consistent, and then allowed me to be able to continuously run day after day. As you can see, it'll be a very long time until I unpack. It'll probably be until next week, but eventually everything will be put back together. But overall, I'm very excited to have the new FKT supported. The 2 previous guys were unsupported, which is a whole entire feat in itself. But I'm just encouraging everyone to get out there and see their local public lands, and yeah.
All right, so congrats, Trisha. A pretty amazing effort indeed. All right, some of the results from events throughout the region. We'll go state by state here. In Connecticut, 8 hours of the brewery, 4-hour, 8-hour, ran at the Norbrook Farm Brewery in Colebrook, Connecticut. Of 15 finishers in the 8-hour, Tyler Tulloch took the overall win in 42.3 miles covered, with Megan Moscarelli, the top female, with 34.7. In the 4-hour, Brendan Atkins and Nick Cruz on top with 26.95. Maybe it was a tie or the win to Brendan. And Lindsay Colucci was top female with 19.25 miles covered. In Maryland, another one that was put on by the most excellent crew. Well, some may question that. Maybe it was quite terrible crew, punishing crew. Put on wet, soggy, cold events. Break their mugs after races. So that's a very questionable distinction I guess I just provided. But the Pemberton 24, put on by the crew at the Algonquin Ultras in Salisbury, Maryland. They had a solid field with 175 finishers. It's a pretty cool event format with 5Ks running on the hour every hour for 24 hours. And instead of times, the runners are accruing points for, I think, various wins and other metrics. The overall win went to the quick and tough Maria Miller with 125 points. Kyle Miller was second through as top male with 95. And queuing us further into Pemberton in the format, and the day is winner and studess Maria Miller.
Hey guys, Maria Miller here. I want to share with you the race I did this past weekend, and thank you Ian again for inviting me to your podcast. It was the Pemberton 24. Here's the hat. Pemberton 24 here in Salisbury, Maryland. It's a festival of 5Ks. The race starts on Friday night at 7 p.m. and we run a 5K, same loop for 24 hours, every hour. So whatever amount of time you have left to rest after your loop is completed, you can rest, eat, hydrate, get a massage, take a quick nap, and ready to go at the next hour. So from 7 p.m. on Friday to 6 p.m. our last loop started at 6 p.m. on Saturday until of course 7 p.m. So it's the third year of this race, and it's the third year I participated. I was able to manage to finish first female overall this year, and it's a fun race. It sells out super quick, so in case you guys are planning your calendar for next year, is a great race to be part of. It's fun, and there's solo runners and team runners up to 4 members per team, and you guys can run as many 5Ks if you want. This year 44 runners completed the 24 5K. So temperatures were down to 48, 49 overnight, but the day was gorgeous. It was a perfect day for running. So for me, I think it's about getting to finishing the loop 20. And after that, I just tell myself it's just 4 more to go. It's a crazy concept for those who are not familiar with the loop or don't like doing loops over and over again. It gets kind of whole after a while, but it's fun. I invite you guys to hopefully sign up, look it up, and come over next year. It's a fun event. We had about 350 participants, I believe, this year, and I'm gonna just thank publicly to Cherns, Swanson, and the whole crew of Algonquin Ultras that put this race together. Is amazing. Thank you guys for all of the work. The volunteers are always amazing, and every single race I go, I just can't say enough about the volunteers. And the competition was great, and just the camaraderie and just being out there and cheering for each other during the race is so much fun. You just get to talk, walk, jog, run with so many people and meet new runners, of course. So yeah, thank you Ian for having me again. I'm planning on taking part on a half marathon, a trail marathon in Bear, Delaware this weekend on Sunday, so fingers crossed. See what I can do. And I also wanted to say that I went over to Virgil to do Virgil Crest 100 a couple of weekends ago, and Ian is the race director. Thank you, Ian. I had the honor to meet you and meet a bunch of new people. I wasn't able to finish the 100, but I had a great time. I finished 54, 56 miles, something like that. Lovely area, and the weather couldn't be any better. I don't believe. And thank you for being such a great race director, and for your always smiling, always so much energy on you. I saw, even though when I came back the next day and there was people running, and you were like happy, welcoming, and super grateful. So grateful. So thank you so much for having me again. And guys, happy running and keep running. See you. Oh, enjoy the view. This is the Nanico River in Tallahassee, Maryland.
All right, bouncing up to New Jersey. While beyond a wonderful 50K, 50-mile, 100-mile in the New Jersey Highlands and Lakes area, which is a truly beautiful area in Hewitt, New Jersey. Of 500-mile finishers, Tim Craig and Ella Lombardi took the wins in 22:30 and 27:28. Of 4 in the 100K, Christopher Tyler took the overall in 12:37. Of 8 in the 50-mile, Nicholas Roman and Maria Schoonhammer took the gender wins in 9:56 and 16:44. And of 14 in the 50K, Daniel Massa and April Tyler on the wins. Of 12 in the marathon, Nathan Riddle and Rebecca Nicholas. Of 34 in the half, Josh Bruckner and Molly Cornelison. And of 24 in the 10K, Paul Artola and Cherry Song. And that is one that is put on by the New Jersey Trail Running Crew, which puts on a number of races throughout New Jersey. So check them out. In New York, the Morgan Hill Meat Grinder went down, half marathon, and 50-mile in Fabius, New York, outside of Syracuse. Of 12 50-mile finishers, Robert Galinsky and Bethany Titus took the men's and women's wins in 11:03 and 11:14. Both established new course records for this course, with a 50-mile being a first-year option. In the marathon of 25 finishers, Thomas Joslin and Kimberly Raitt took the men's and women's wins in 4:32 and 5:04. And of 39 finishers in the half marathon, Stephen Young and Kelly McDonald took the men's and women's wins in 1:54 and 2:26. Stevens' mark also establishes a new half marathon course record. And queuing us in a bit deeper into the Morgan Hill Meat Grinder is one of my friends and college teammates, Erin Malay, fourth place women's marathon finisher. Erin, take it.
Hey, my name's Erin Malay, and Ian asked me to speak a little bit about the Morgan Hill Meat Grinder, which was held this past Saturday. I believe, the date was the 25th. It was held at Toggenburg Ski Area in Fabius, New York, and it is an event that features both a half marathon, a full marathon, and this year for the first time a 50-mile trail race. So it starts and finishes right at Toggenburg Ski Area and then heads out into the Finger Lakes trails, primarily all trail, I think it was about 4 miles on dirt road, and then the rest entirely single track, beautiful single track trails. So last year I ran the half marathon, which little did I know that the half marathon turned around where the marathon really amped up its volume, I should say. So the elevation that was in the full, none of that was in the half. So this year I decided, well, certainly half last year, got to do the full this year. So jumped right in, and it was a very different experience than the half. It was an absolutely beautiful course. Lots of, climbing, of course, but more than I expected. I think after running the half last year, I wasn't quite maybe prepared for the intensity. Even so, I had trained on these trails several times. But if you want a challenge and you want trails and you want beautiful sights and to feel like your legs have been ground up, as the name leads you to believe, this is definitely the course for you. The weather was perfect. We started out, I think it was about 52, finished in the mid 70s, so you really can't ask for better race day weather. And I definitely would do it again. I would go back. I will be back. I don't think I'll reach for the 50 next year, although Scott English, race director extraordinaire, always puts that out there as the next adventure. If you do the half one year, the marathon the next year, well, the next obvious answer is you do the 50 the following year. But I don't know about that. We'll have to wait and see. It's a long way off. For right now, I'm just enjoying taking a little bit of rest time post-marathon, and looking forward to getting back out on the trail soon. So yes, thank you to Scott and Salt City Trail Running. It was a well done event, lots of wonderful volunteers and fully stocked aid stations, and just good to be back out racing and competing with everyone in the trail running community here in Syracuse. So Morgan Hill Meat Grinder, double thumbs up, very challenging, beautiful course. Give it a try, half marathon, full marathon, or 50 miler. So thanks for having me on, Ian, and see you next time. Bye.
All right, then bouncing over toward the Hudson Valley, Rock the Ridge 50 mile in New Paltz, New York. It's a truly runnable gem. It's a beautiful course. Uses the beautiful carriage roads in the Shawangunk Mountains. Had a solid field of 279 finishers, which based on, I think there was maybe others in addition to just the run field. I think they touted maybe there's like 600 entrants or at least fundraisers. So they're based on a fundraising entry model, and they raised $300,000 for the Mohonk Preserve. That's a lot of money. Travis Hawkins took the win in a solid and speedy 6:04, with third-time finisher Etan Lavavi and second in 6:36. For the top women, Jana Velaskova took the win in 8:09, with Shanna Baristo second in 8:20. Giving us a deeper flavor is Trishul Cherns.
I'm Trishul Cherns, longtime ultra runner of 43 years, 8-time finisher of Rock the Ridge 50-mile challenge, this wonderful trail race that happens in the Mohonk Mountain Preserve and the Minnewaska State Park in beautiful New York State. I'm proud and happy to say that did it one more time and was joined by my friend Carol Moscott to complete the whole task. This race usually is held in the spring, but it is this year was held in the fall because of COVID, and usually the spring race, which I believe is going to go back to the spring, it has lots of nice, beautiful light, and love the carriage trails. I'm so used to the technical footing of roots, rocks, and mud in the Northeast here that this was a delight to be on carriage trails. There is elevation gain and loss, but in that elevation gain and loss, it's a lot easier when the footing's good. This year, it is a fundraising event, and through the years, I think I've raised about $5,000 for the preserve, and they've raised about $1.7 million, which is fantastic. I even saw a new trailhead right by the starting line of the testimonial gate, and it had a beautiful parking lot, and it was just really groomed well. What's great about this race is they have a great dinner beforehand, and if you're a vegetarian or vegan, they have those options as well. And they had a dinner afterwards, or I should say a lot of good food afterwards. The volunteers are very, very friendly. They're well stocked, and it was just a great time that I had there. You can meet great new friends there, and I always do every year. I always have somebody new to accompany me on this trail adventure. Let's see, what else can I say about the race other than that I give it 10 out of 10. I really loved it, and the chances of getting lost are very, very small. It's very well marked. It's a well marked course, and unless you're not paying attention, then you'll get lost. Like all trail races, there's an 18-hour cutoff, which gives beginners ample time to finish the race. But there's also fast runners, guys like Ben Nephew, the beast from the East Coast, and he finished it under 6 hours. This year there was a guy like 6:04, and so there's some fast times too. And I call this a trail runner's dream race because of the footing. There's not heavy climbs, but there is on the original course, 7,000 feet of climb for 50 miles. But for trail runners, they just look forward to those wonderful hills. And this year was less hills because it was just in the preserve itself. And it was about over 4,000 feet in 50 miles. And but fast times have happened there. And, I'm there to basically complete the course. I used to run to compete, now I run to complete. And complete I did, and please join me next year to be number 9. Peace and love.
So nice work, Trishul. And the Great Schoonemunk Traverse 42K, which is one that we were able to preview earlier from new RD, Marcin Marauka, covers a beautiful trail and vistas along the Hudson Valley's long path. Slate of new course records in that the running was from a new location this year. Of 11 finishers, the win went to Willis Mattis in 6:43, with top female finish earned by Emma Raub. Both Willis and Emma are hailing from Colorado Springs. In PA, Water Gap 2550K, one that is still under the Red Newt banner, may move it to Happily Running for next year, was directed this year by Vinny Capadora, ran in the beautiful Delaware Water Gap National Recreation Area. As has seemingly been the MO for 2020 and 2021, a number of last-minute logistical shakeups, whether it be COVID, permitting, course, weather, whatever, just keeps coming. We lost our traditional starting point due to unforeseen construction that had the area closed. And our course was also bisected or cut right in half by storm damage with fallen trees down, which they weren't going to be able to clear in time. So, had to bump to a different start and staging area and switch to an out and back configuration instead of a point-to-point. Still a beautiful day, fall day on the non-technical, mostly hard-packed gravel course along the Delaware River, celebrating AJW or Andy Jones Wilkins' birthday. Happy birthday to you again, brother. The always speedy and prior national team member Jared Burdick lowered an already fast 50K record to 3:13, and running side by side with eventual second place finisher Justin Schade for most of the race. And for the women, Rhiannon and Schade took the win in 4:27. And for the 25K, John Patrick Montgomery and Jana Cherns took the top spot. And for a better view into Water Gap, women's 50K winner Rhiannon Schade. Take us through it.
Hello, my name is Rhiannon Schade, and I am a college counselor from Bernardsville, New Jersey, and I wanted to chat with you a little bit about my experience at the Red Newt Racing Delaware Water Gap 50K race. Before that, just to kind of give you a little bit of background on kind of my running history and how I found the race. I am really inexperienced with trail racing altogether. I call myself a baby trail racer, a novice, a newbie, all of those things. I've done before the Red Newt Racing event on the 25th of September, I had done 2 ultra marathons, both of which were loops. So my first one was in June of this year, my second one was in July of this year, and then this was my third ultra length of any kind race. So I had done the loop thing, and both of the loops that I had run in previous races were fairly flat, and so I was looking for something that wasn't completely flat but wasn't going to overwhelm me or be too much. I also was looking for something that was point to point because I had only done the loops before and thought this will be great, this will be a good next step for me to kind of explore what it would be like to do a 50K from one point to another. So that was kind of what I was thinking, and I wanted something that was close to home in New Jersey. And I saw online that Red Newt Racing has tons of different events, and this one looked like it was the most doable for me, most runnable, given that I don't have a lot of experience. And so what I did, I signed up, I don't remember when I signed up, probably about a month and a half before the race. And let me think about that. September, August, July. Yeah, something like that. And I was pretty nervous because, again, I don't have a lot of experience. I just had the 2 races before. And so for me, one thing that was helpful was I did go out to the course a couple of times and run stretches of it just to kind of become comfortable with it. I looked at the elevation profile, and it's not considered a hilly course, but for me, again, being so new, seeing the spike for the hill up to the park headquarters was a bit intimidating for me. So I kind of wanted to see that so I could know to anticipate it. I mean, looking at the profile, even it was helpful just knowing, okay, yeah, around mile 5 or 6 or whatever it was, or mile, I guess it was around mile 4 or so, there's gonna be this hill. And again, maybe it's not a big deal for most people who do these things all the time or have done them a lot more times, but it was just good for me to be aware. But anyway, so in terms of race preparation, I obviously made sure that I was doing the right kind of volume to run a 50K. And then also just kind of wrap my head around the fact that yes, it's kind of flat and it's not that technical, but for me was more than I had done in the past in terms of elevation. So race day was really nice. Got up in the morning, got to the course. It was really foggy, and coming out of a really hot summer into a nice, cool, foggy morning was actually kind of refreshing. And the field was, I would say, fairly small, not too small, not, you know, crowds and crowds of people either, but just kind of a good energy. I was able to kind of get ready and relax. I don't really get nervous before these things because they're kind of long and there's no point in getting nervous right at the beginning. So, you know, we did a staggered start and I got out on the trail and it was just lovely, like just perfect. The packed gravel was nice, easy on the feet. The course is overall pretty flat. There's some really nice views and just different fields and some kind of rockscapes, I don't know what to call them, in the background as you're running along, and you can see different kind of parts of the Delaware Water Gap area, and lots of water features and bridges and different things going on, but a very, very runnable course and a fairly wide trail. And so the run was really beautiful and steady the whole way. And because of the flood recently brought down some trees in the area, instead of being a point to point in the sense of one point being 31 miles from the starting point being 31 miles from the finish, it was about half the distance out and half the distance back. And we had a fun little poker chip collection that had to happen at the turnaround, which was nice. It was good to get there. It was, everything was feeling good. And then I would say maybe around the 23rd mile or so, once I started to think about the fact that I was gonna have to go back up that hill, I slowed down a little bit, and I did kind of walk up the hill the second time, which I really didn't want to do, but I knew that in terms of preserving my energy for the end of the race, that's what I had to do. And so I kind of said, all right, you know, I'm walking up this hill. So I walked up the hill, and even walking up it was a little bit of a challenge at that point for me. Again, I know I'm just not very experienced with these things. So I kind of walked up the hill, and then my calf flexed and kind of Charlie horsed on me, which was no fun. And I took a nice solid face plant into the ground and got this special mark, and dirt, all over me. But I think that just kind of comes with the territory, and so I was able to kind of pick back up, be fine. But then around the 29th mile, both of my hamstrings were locking up pretty bad. But I was so close to the end at that point that I just said, all right, I'm going to be a little bit slower, but I'll kind of hobble in, if you will. And so that's what I did. And I was beyond thrilled to come in at the time that I did. And it was a PR for me in terms of it being the fastest 50K I had run up through this point. And again, I've only done 3, so I don't know what it means, but it was nice. And I came in at a good time, but it was my sort of slowest, most dramatic finish for me, which again is fine. This kind of thing happens, I guess. And the race was awesome, and it left me really wanting to go ahead and sign up for the next one already. So I really appreciate the race organizers putting this on. It was an awesome time.
All right, thanks so much for that clip and being out there with us. Great job. It was a truly beautiful day out there. The Tales for Trails 40 mile went down in Hanover, PA. It's used to benefit the animal rescue. They saw 27 individual finishers with Marissa Kovac. First across the line in 6:52, with top male on the day, second place Ray Rogers in 7:45. The Iron Masters Trail Challenge 25K, 50K ran in Gardner's, PA. 48 50K finishers Scott Lesh and Laurel Jones took the top men's and women's spots. And in the 15K of a solid field size, 179 finishers, Philip Samatis and Amanda Balzer took the top men's and women's finishes in 1922 and 26:03. Another beautiful one that went down in northern PA. It's the World's End Fall Classic half marathon run in Forksville. Headed into race weekend with 206 entrants and a beautiful course. The ever tough and speedy John Johnson earned the overall win in 2:06 with a tight race for second, hot on his heels from Gabriel Batdorf and David Endress. And for the women, Sarah Campbell in 2:43 with Hannah Sherwood and Hannah Darrow rounding out the podium. It's a race for Hannah's there. All right, Conestoga Trail Run, 26th edition. This is a classic in the region, cult classic and just classic in general. Really rugged Beast Coast course, some good technical boulder fields, a lot of steep climbing, pretty much the whole race. I think you're going up or down. It saw 135 finishers cover the I think it's point to point. And the top finish on the day went to Zach Miller, only a bit off his course record in 1:22. Great to see you back and hammering, Zach. Hopefully the body's feeling pretty good after. And Ryan Baer and Peter Wida rounding out the men's podium. For the women, Nicole Seuffert took the win in 2:16, followed by a tight finish for second between Ann Williams and Nicole Maurer. And taking us more vividly into Conestoga are the men's and women's winners, Zach and Nicole. So cue us into Conestoga.
Hey guys, Zach Miller here, and I am here to recap the Conestoga Trail Run for you. Ian asked me to recap in about 5 minutes, and given that it's one of my favorite races in the whole world and how long-winded I can be, that seems like a challenge, but let's give it a go. So I'm Zach. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a mountain runner for the North Face, and I am often training out west, but I actually grew up in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, and I was back for the race and just did it over the weekend. So I'm going to give you a little rundown. The quick and dirty is it's a fantastic race. In terms of results, Nicole Seuffert took the win for the women this year, and I took the win for the men. But to give you a little more detail than just that, it's absolutely one of my favorite races in the whole world. It's on a trail in Lancaster County called the Conestoga Trail, which is actually about 60 miles long. But the best section, in my mind, is the last 10, 12 miles of it. which is in the southern end of the county, and it's pretty much all single track and pretty much all straight up or straight down with a lot of rocks and a lot of roots and some tricky, not really tricky, but some stream crossings and some magnificent views of the Susquehanna River. And it's just a very dynamic, very beautiful, very challenging meat grinder of a trail. The race course includes a couple of sections that deviate from the trail itself, that are kind of on like old trails slash kind of bushwhacks slash just follow the flags through the woods, kind of typical East Coast style, or at least what I think of when I think of East Coast trail running. And yeah, it's just fantastic. I actually never knew about the trail until I was in like my 20s, which was a real shame because when I finally found it, I was like, I can't believe this was here my whole life and I didn't come run on it because it's that great. But the race is put on by Jason Logue and Bill Smith. Jason is also the owner of runpa.org. So they're just great guys who do, you know, a bunch for the local running scene here in Lancaster County. And they do a great job with the race. I've been doing the race since, 2013. So back in those days, no one had ever gone under 90 minutes for this race. It's a 10-mile race, and I was recently out of college, and they were paying $100 to anyone who could break 90 minutes. And you think, oh, that's like 9-minute mile pace. Like, how hard could that be? And I remember coming out and checking out the course before the race, and I don't even remember, but I think it took me like, I didn't really know what I was doing, but I think it took me like 2 hours or longer to like get from point to point, more or less. And I was like, this is crazy. But I still came back race day, and I actually ended up running an hour 28, and they paid me $100, and I was very happy. And then my running career advanced a lot, and I came back the next year, and I ran, I think, an hour 24, and then the next year I ran an hour 22. And then, even though it's a race I like to come back to every year, for some reason, I didn't come back until this year. So it had been 6 years. And this year has just been weird for me because I've been recovering from a Haglund's deformity surgery back in December. Training's just been super different. I've been spending time on the bike, some time on the run, but not running every day like I'm used to. Volume is way lower, and like putting back in intensity has kind of been more recent thing, especially for intensity on the run. I was doing some intensity on the bike even back in the winter. But anyways, training's just been super different. Wasn't sure what I had. Showed up on race day, basically just threw the pedal to the floor, tried to keep it there, and got to the finish line, hadn't looked at my watch all day, and ran like 1:22:42, something like that. So about 40 seconds off of my course record. And I was thrilled with it because I really had started to have my doubts, was like, oh man, like I just really don't know if I can like even get close to that course record this year. Just wasn't feeling super confident. Almost like maybe my best days are just behind me. So I was just thrilled, to say the least, to run that strong this year, on a course that means so much to me, on a course that I think is so fun, in a race that I love so much. So if anyone is looking to run the race in future years, I would highly recommend you come check it out, especially if you like the East Coast style, because this race is basically nothing but straight up or straight down and lots of rocks and roots and obstacles and awkward things to run through. You really got to be basically just zoned in, paying attention the entire time, super focused, even if you know the course, because it's not just about like pushing hard, it's about being clean, like getting all your lines right, not missing turns, and just, being clean and fast at the same time. And it'll test your lungs, it'll test your legs, it'll test your brain. Just super, super good race. Great race. And I we would welcome folks from out of state or, anywhere to come to Lancaster County and check out what I think is one of the best races in the world. So yeah, that's just a little recap on this race that I think so much of. And, I'd invite any of you to come check it out. It's always in September, around the third weekend or so in September. It's been running for 26 races now. And yeah, come down to Lancaster County and check out one of the best trails around.
Hey, what's up everybody? My name's Nicole and I recently completed the 26th annual Conestoga Trail Race. The Conestoga Trail Race is a 10 mile, 10 brutal miles. It takes a special person to come out and run this race, I think. There is about 3,000 feet of gain over that 10-mile period, so it's pretty much just up and down and up and down, and you're rolling along with the punches along the way. But it's a fun race. It is fun. And it was so fun this year. I finished first. I've never done that before. But first place overall female finisher. I'm thrilled. I can't believe it. The run was just spectacular. I mean, I came into the day with no intentions other than to have a good run. I've learned that sometimes when you have expectations in a run, that it doesn't go according to plan, and if you don't have the right mindset to readjust pretty quickly, then then you can set yourself up for failure. So sometimes entering with no expectations at all, just have a good run and enjoy yourself is really really what I was going for. And lo and behold, my motto was just strong and steady. Stay strong and steady the whole way. And I reminded myself over and over and over again until I got to one point, which I'll get to later. So anyway, but what I wanted to show you, you can see that elevation profile. It's up and down and up and down. So like I said, it's about 3,000 feet of gain, but it's beautiful. There are parts of this race that bring you up to these scenic views where you can overlook the river. And that day the sun was shining, the breeze was blowing. It was maybe like 60, 68, I don't know. It was a spectacular, picture perfect day for this trail race. I mean, the weather gods were in our court for sure. They all wanted everybody to perform, and the weather did. Everybody did perform. There was I heard a lot of people talking about PRs, never running better. This was one of their great runs, best runs, and it was just, it was great. So along with all this beauty that comes along with the race and the spectacular weather that we had, there are some really, really, really amazing, areas that you're gonna pass through as you're running along this trail. I'm gonna say maybe like 6 miles in, you get to this area called, maybe you're 5 miles in, Tuckwan Glen. And it takes you down across this stream, and you're running over these rocks, literally right beside it. And you cross over it a couple times, until you get to the end. There's waterfalls, and it's just beautiful. And then of course, as you get to the end near the railroad tracks, you go back up this huge climb, up another huge climb. Lots of huge climbs in this race. I love uphill though. That's my thing. I actually I practiced downhill to get better at this race. I was not a downhill fan. And now I'm really liking some downhill too. It's crazy when you're moving and you're bucking on this downhill course. It was crazy. So the practice and the improvement of the technique, I mean, clearly paid off with the first place finish. But back to the trail here. This trail is it's stunning. You get to this other area, you come up this climb. It's humble. It's 500 feet, Pinnacle Point. And when you get to the top of Pinnacle Point, you just have this unbelievable view of the river and the York County side, and it's spectacular. You're guaranteed a great breeze up there. So when you come up that hill and you're sweaty because it's hot, I mean, you just put your arms out and let all those people behind you smell it, and then you can get further ahead. But it was at that point that somebody said to me, first female, and I said, "Shut up, get out." And he's like, no, first female. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to keep it that way, you know? So I just kept on running and running. And, you know, but reminding myself, like, don't get overexcited. You got to conserve the energy. At that point, I still had 3 really challenging miles left in the race. But forged ahead, held on to the position, and came in 2:16, 45 minutes under my personal best. You know, an hour and a half better than the year prior. The year prior, my legs did not want to run Conestoga 2 years ago. They were on strike that day. So I came into the race with big expectations, and thus is the story with the big expectations, right? I wasn't running that day. My legs were not running. My mind wanted to run, but my legs clearly did not. It was painful. So very quickly, about mile 2, I just stepped it back and kind of took my time, and it's 3 hours and 45 minutes is I think what I finished in that year. So significant difference this year. I mean, just, you know, it's, hey, sometimes you have good runs and sometimes you have bad, and that day was not my day. This year was, though. Race organization is spectacular. Jason Lowe, Run PA, his team did a phenomenal job organizing all the volunteers, you know, making sure that the runners were knowing where they needed to be, when they needed to be there, what the requirements were, you know, ensuring that those requirements were followed and understood. And I mean, it was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. The people of this race are great. It takes a special person to want to come out and kill yourself on this trail because it is brutal, but it is, it's amazing and it's worth it, and I'd highly recommend it. So if you haven't run it yet, check it out, because I will certainly see you there next year.
Bouncing down to Virginia, the Nasty 9 trail run, 4 and 9 miler, I think ran in Lexington, Virginia. I can't find any results posted there yet. And then a bigger, probably trail party, but one of the bigger hundreds in our region is the Yeti 100 in Abington, Virginia. Headed into race weekend with 312 entrants and a U.S. UltraSignUp projected win time of 15:06 for the men and 19:12 for the women. With 187 entrants that towed the line and made it through to the finish, Amy Hamilton emerged on top, crushing the UltraSignUp pre-race time projections with a stellar performance and overall win in a finish time of 15 hours and 23 minutes. That is truly flying, and it looks like, Amy, you had a pretty incredible day out there. Chris Vernado was the top male in second in 15:42. And the veritable Tom Green, 100 finish, I think in each of his 4 prior decades, if I'm remembering that correctly. And with over 256 finishes tracked in just UltraSignUp's database alone, he pulled in ahead of the 30 hours as the final finisher in 29:56. Tom, you are incredible. And then taking us deeper into the Yeti experience, I'm rolling with the 2 10th place finishers on the day. The first is the legend Phil Vondra, 10th place overall in 1911, followed by Dagmar Paul, the 10th woman across the line in 21:18. So Phil and Dagmar, take it away.
Hi everyone, my name is Phil Vondra. Locally, some people call me the legend. The FBI and Interpol do have other names for me, but you'll need to buy me several beers before I confess to what they are. I just last Friday ran the Yeti 100 in Abingdon, Virginia. I'd heard a lot about the race and a lot about the Yeti trail culture down there. Really wanted to experience one of Jason Green's races. I've heard so much good stuff. The race is run pretty much on an old disused railway line. It's called the Virginia Creeper Trail. It goes from White Top to Abingdon, Virginia, and it's about 33.4 miles. So you run from White Top to Abingdon, back from Abingdon to White Top, and then White Top to Abingdon again. It runs through some pretty fantastic scenery, some beautiful kind of rolling hills, lots of farmland, some nice towns, over I think about 141 trestle bridges in total. There's some nice sections along rivers and streams that are very cool. The rail bed is a little rocky in places, but mostly pretty good kind of crushed rock and cinder. There's a few bits that will trip you up, but nothing too bad. It starts off slightly downhill, so you get a nice little bit of free kind of speed to start you off. Yeah, great group of runners out there. I had a good first 33.4 miles, feeling pretty good. Nutrition was really going well. Hydration was going well. Turned around, started heading back. Things started to get quite hot. I wasn't feeling so great. I almost parted company with the contents of my stomach at about 47, 48 miles. There's an aid station there which I got into. I had a pretty reasonable reset there. Lots of fluids. Hit the old secret weapon. A large amount of maple syrup was consumed, which was actually pretty good. Got going, taking it fairly easy, and the dropping temperatures really helped me. Really allowed me to rally. Got back into pretty steady running pace at probably around sort of the 53-mile mark. Was cruising along pretty nicely until about 100k, and I managed to take a detour off the course by accident. Added about 35 minutes to my day. Found my way back onto the course. A little embarrassed, a little angry with myself, but kind of just sucked it up and got on with it. Running along, lots of runners coming towards you in the night with headlamps on, lots of high spirits. Temperature dropping pretty nicely, making it quite comfortable running conditions. Got back up to White Top, turned around, and started heading back. It was an amazing night. Totally clear sky, beautiful stars and moon, about 3/4 moon. It was fantastic. Aid stations were fantastic. Everyone there was just really rallying people, really, supportive crowd. Managed to finish pretty strong. Caught a few people on the way back to the finish. Finished 10th overall. 19 hours and 12 minutes was my finishing time, which I was pretty happy with. Got a very, very cool belt buckle at the end, possibly the coolest buckle in ultra running ever. It has 2 lightsabers on it, 2 unicorns, a rainbow and a Millennium Falcon. I mean, I challenge anyone to beat that kind of buckle. It's pretty outstanding. As I said, the community down there is very cool, and a lot of people go for the golden hour at the end of the race. It has a 30-hour cutoff. So I went to for just a bit longer than actually the golden hour. I was there for about an hour and a half before the finish, and watched a ton of runners coming in. The atmosphere there was absolutely fantastic. Just so many great stories. Tom Green, the very last runner, came in pushing a stroller. He had an accident a number of years ago, and it's caused some issues with his balance. But he came running in. It was like so inspiring, so incredible. He was the last finisher, but just watching him finish was amazing. Just so many tough runners just pushing to get that finish done. The lady who won the race was absolutely amazing as well. She was high-fiving. Her spirits were so high, really inspiring to watch her. Some of the coolest race swag in the business, skateboard, some socks, bandana, some stickers, just a nice sweatshirt. I mean, absolutely incredible. I highly recommend the race. So well supported, such a beautiful course. And just absolutely, amazing race swag. I would definitely do it again, and highly recommended.
Hello everyone, my name is Dagmar Paul, and this past Friday I had the opportunity to run the Yeti 100 endurance run that takes place on the Virginia Creeper Trail. This year the race was able to go back to its original route, which begins in White Top at the trailhead. It's about 3,500 feet elevation there, and then it goes down through Damascus and up into Abington, at which point you turn around, you go back to White Top, you turn around, and you finish in Abington. So it is an out course. The race director provides a shuttle, or you can have your crew do what they call a kiss and drop there, at which point you can get dropped off, and you do get many opportunities to see your crew throughout the race. They have amazing aid stations anywhere from like 6, 7, 9 miles apart. The aid stations are fully stocked with everything that you could possibly need. I had the opportunity to have my friend Judy Doldorf from the Dairy Queen Track Club come and crew and pace for me this year. It was the first 100 that I've ever had a crew and pacer for, and it was absolutely fantastic. I'm so grateful to her. I don't think I would have finished this one without her. I tend to get extremely sleepy at night, and she started pacing me at mile 70 and was able to push me through to that last aid station where I took a nap, a 5-minute nap, which was probably the best thing I could have done, and finished the last 9 miles quicker than the 9 miles preceding that. So going back to the race overall, we had fantastic weather. We had 40s in the beginning, 60s throughout the day, 40s again at night, which was a little colder than I think a lot of us have been used to with this incredibly hot summer we've had, but it was a nice break from the heat. The course it's not technical. It is a nice, very wide crushed shale path. There's definitely some sneaky rocks in there. We did have some runners take tumbles, but we were given the words of advice from the race director that to not barrel down that downhill, because the race begins in White Top and you have a nice gradual descent over like 17 miles down into Damascus, where it kind of evens out for quite a bit and then just has a slight uphill into Abington. So that downhill at the beginning feels so good, but we were definitely told to conserve our energy for the finish, where then you have to go up the hill. I guess not to finish, it would be about 2/3 of the way. You go back up that large decline that you had at the beginning, which is now an ascent, and now it's dark, and now your legs are tired. So he told us, make sure that you conserve your energy and you will get through it. So this year the field was full of incredibly talented athletes. We had the overall winner for the race was Amy Hamilton. She actually set a new course record for females course record. She had finished it with 15 hours and 23 minutes and change. And to see a woman finish just at the top of any race, I think is really cool. I was able to achieve my personal goal, which was under 24-hour finish. So I earned this really cool buckle, which you got to appreciate the artwork and design that went into that one. And I was able to finish this race in 21 hours and 18 minutes. So I'm super happy with my finish and grateful to my coach, Devin Yanko, and my pacer for getting me there. Overall, I would say I highly recommend this race to truly anyone who either wants to do their first 100 or who wants to push and get that personal record on their under their belt. And I mean, it's just fantastic. The Yeti community is full of really fantastic people. The swag from the race it's a nice bonus. You have sweatshirts, you have stickers and hats, and probably the coolest thing I've ever gotten, which was a skateboard deck, which my kiddo was super excited to customize and get his feet on. So I just want to say thank you to Jason Green and all of the amazing volunteers at the aid stations that fed us the coffee and the fruit and just really anything that we needed. This race has always been a lottery entry, but word on the street is that it's going to be first come, first serve this year. So set your alarm for January 1st, New Year's Day. That's when the registration opens, and I guarantee you will not regret it. So sign up, and hopefully I'll see you there next time. I would love to give back to the community and come back to volunteer next year. So thanks again, and I hope you try it out. Okay, bye.
All right, back up into Vermont. The Vermont 50K and 50 mile went down in Brownsville. They headed in with 257 in the 50 mile and 197 in the 50K, in addition to about, I think it was like 500 in the mountain bike division. Big event. In the 50 mile of 142 finishers, Eric Lipuma bested the field with a 6:24 finish time, with Keith Lundquist and Wouter Hoogkamer rounding out the podium. And for the women, Britta Clark took the day with a finish time of 7:33, with Catherine Cross Powers and Emily Speck rounding out the women's podium. In the 50K, Justin Newman and Caroline Day took the respective men's and women's wins in 4:37 and 5:12. And here to take us deeper into Vermont are the 50-mile winners, Eric Lipuma and Britta Clark.
My name is Eric Lipuma, and I'm talking to you from Richmond, Vermont. It's a small little town right outside Burlington, and yesterday I ran and won the Vermont 50 mile down in Windsor, Vermont. I've never run the course before. I've had a lot of friends who have run it, and it seemed like something that it might be good at. It has a decent amount of dirt roads in it, so and I like to run roads and trails, so I figured it'd be pretty good. I expected it to have a little bit more roads. I thought it was going to be like 80% dirt, rolling hills, just the classic dirt roads we have out here, and then 20% like non-technical single track. What it ended up being was it seemed like more trail than roads, which was nice from just a running perspective. It's nice to be back in the woods, but I thought I was going to be running quite a bit faster for the time overall. I thought maybe run under 6 hours, but it ended up being like a ton of really tight, like technical single track, just because all the trails are mountain bike trails, and for whatever reason they like to build trails that are not fun to run. So not that the course itself wasn't fun, but just some of the switchbacks like on flat terrain I don't understand. So it was just a ton of really tough switchbacks back in the woods, and then back through like grassy fields and back on dirt roads. But the whole course was a loop, which was pretty nice, like with no out and backs. And I feel like I've run so many courses this year or anytime they're just like 10 loops or a bunch of out and backs, or 10 loops with a bunch of out and backs, which is not very fun. So having a massive loop was really nice. I think the toughest part of the whole course is that you're on course with 450 mountain bikers like the whole time. So you're just constantly leapfrogging, like pass them on the uphill and then they come on the downhill, like ripping past you. And sometimes when you're on like a technical downhill or like somewhat technical, and like having a mountain biker want to pass you or just fly by you, so you have to run like probably half the trail sections like not even on the trail, which is kind of a bummer. I would definitely not do this race again unless it was like switched into 2 days where the run was just at a different time. It's just kind of annoying. My training for it went super well. 2 weeks before the race, I ran Mad Marathon, which is a really hilly road marathon here in Vermont. It has like over 2,000 feet of climbing for a road marathon, which is the most I've ever seen. And I won that, and I ran like 2:33. So I figured if I could run that on a hilly course, I'd probably be in pretty decent shape for Vermont 50. But before that, I was just stacking up weeks, 80 plus miles a week. So nothing crazy, but making sure to get like 6,000 or 7,000 feet a week of road elevation gain. So like not hiking on trails, but just making sure I'm running pretty much all of my elevation gain. But overall, the race went almost perfect. I think for it to have gone perfect, I just maybe would have had more energy for those switchbacks, but I don't even think I could have ran those that much faster. So I think it went pretty perfect. Up to the first crude aid station was mile 12, which I came through. I had my girlfriend Joanna crewing me, and I just grabbed a bottle and a few gels there and just ran right through. And then in the next section, there was a good bit of trails, but that's kind of where the bulk of the road running was, until mile 32, which is the next crude aid station. So got there, got another bottle, a few more gels, and was aiming to get in like 300 calories an hour with like 80 grams of carbs. The only thing I took from the races aid stations were I would drink some Coke and water. I didn't eat anything else. I did some salt tabs. I think I did like 6 salt tabs for the whole race. And then after mile 32 is when the really windy sections start. So that was tough. But then you get kind of back out onto the road, but then back into the windy single track. And at this point, I was by myself. I ran with Wouter. He's a runner from Massachusetts for 12 miles, and then he took too long at the aid station, so we kind of split up there, and I didn't see anybody for the rest of the race. So was really just running with bikes at that point. So I was by myself, and I figured I had a pretty big lead. I heard like 25 minutes at mile 32, so I wasn't worried because I never really like bonked or anything, so I didn't think anybody would be running faster than me. So I figured I had it won by like mile 40. Then the final climb is this like long, kind of relatively mellow climb up through this field. So it's all on grass, and then you have like one last section of trail, and then you descend Mount Ascutney just on the ski slopes, like a couple grassy switchbacks, a few hundred feet, and then that's the finish. And finished up, had a beer, and came back up here to Richmond, and I'm feeling pretty good today. I just have one destroyed toenail, which is pretty good for me. I usually have 7 or 8 black toenails at all times, so came out of this one pretty good. And I know my dad watches this show, so hi, Dad.
Hi, everyone. My name's Britta Clark, and I'm here with a little race report from the Vermont 50 miler, which was held this past Sunday. A little bit about the race. It's 50 miles in the best state in the world, Vermont. Just as the leaves are starting to turn, it's super beautiful. It's a mix of dirt roads and single track and kind of class 4 Forest Service roads. It's also a bike race, which is super cool. And yeah, one of the sweet things about the race is that it crosses through a lot of private lands. A lot of really generous landowners let us bike and run through. So you get to see some parts of the state that you wouldn't normally get to explore, which is pretty sweet. And also super cool and important is that the race is a fundraiser for Vermont Adaptive, which is a great organization that helps disabled people participate and access various outdoor sports. So, race for a good cause. Yeah, I had a good one out there. It was awesome. I first ran it in 2018. It was my first 50 miler. And so coming back, I was definitely like a little nervous that I would be slower than I was in 2018. And I actually was for the first 10 or 12 miles looking back at my splits. I took it pretty easy, but then was able to just stay consistent throughout the rest of the race. Was fueling really well, just absolutely throwing back goos and various other yummy stuff from all the amazing aid stations. I now regret this, but I did not have any of the beer that was offered at somewhere around mile 30 or something. Maybe if I'd had a sip, I would have gotten under my goal time of 7:30. But yeah, as it stands, I was 3 minutes and 3 seconds over my goal time there. So I guess I'll have to come back next year. But yeah, the race overall, I felt pretty good throughout. There's definitely a couple low moments, probably between miles like 34 to 38. My watch was a little funky, and I thought I had 2 miles more to go than I actually did, and so that can kind of got me mentally down for a few miles there. But then someone at an aid station told me how much longer I actually had, and yeah, perked up from there. So some mental lows, but overall just so happy to get to spend the day running through Vermont, single track, and finally not ridiculously humid and hot. So yeah, felt pretty great throughout. Been super lucky to be supported by the Craftsbury Green Racing Project this year, and it was fun to see my teammate Eric Lipuma, who I think is also sending in a video. Saw him for about 30 seconds at the beginning of the race before he went on to run something crazy like 6:25 or something. Yeah, so overall just a really great day out there. It was kind of fun, I thought, to have the bikers along. Yeah, we would pass each other back and forth. They were a bit faster on the downhills, and then I could catch some of them on the uphills. And I think we each thought that the other one's sport looked a bit more difficult. So it was fun to sometimes chat with the bikers. Yeah, but an amazing race. You all should do it. Thanks to the race organizers and all the amazing volunteers. I guess I have to come back to break that 7:30. Yeah, that's my update on the Vermont 50. Hope everyone had a great weekend out there, adventuring or relaxing or anything else. Bye.
All right, back down to West Virginia. The Big Schloss 50K went down in Lost City, West Virginia, under the Virginia Happy Trails header. On a beautiful day that they had as well, the Schloss saw 50 starters and 47 finishers. Jonathan Gowan defended his 2019 champion winning this year again in 5:20. And Martha Nelson took the day for the women in 6:32 for 7th overall. And then one I am going to weave in here is from kind of the head or the point person with Athletics Equation down in Virginia. Puts on a number of events on his own, but also a pretty outstanding endurance athlete in his own right, and also has been a frequent Trails Collective contributor based on some of the events that he puts on. But one that he participated in, Alex Papadopoulos, is going to report in here on one called the Dragon's Back, which basically traverses Wales. And as he gets into it or takes us through it a bit, I'm just going to weave in some of the video that they have on their website. The course looks absolutely beautiful. I mean, just stunning, rugged, really narrow, high spires, mountain lakes, good history in terms of the architecture. Looks truly incredible. So Alex, great job, and take us here through the Dragon's Back.
Hey collective, how you guys doing today? This is Alex Papadopoulos with Athletic Equation, and I'm here to provide you a quick overview of the Dragon's Back race. You can find out more information on it at dragonsbackrace.com. This race takes place in Wales. It runs the length of Wales north to south, approximately 236 miles over 6 days. It is staged, so you're running a discrete amount of miles every day. Some quick skinny on the race. It was in its 7th year this year. First started in 1992, and then there was a 20-year break, and new management took it over starting in 2012, and I believe this year was the 7th edition. That said, it's a 6-day stage race. Like I mentioned, it covers 236 miles, starting in Conway Castle in Conway, Wales, and finishing in the capital of Cardiff, Wales, in Cardiff Castle. Absolutely epic experience. You traverse mountains, tall and short, boggy, non-boggy, 236 miles. Yeah, so what do we have? Within those 236 miles, we've got 57,000 feet of elevation gain. So you've also got loss that comes with that. You're running on all sorts of different tracks. You're running on pavement. You're running on crushed gravel. You're running on discrete trails. traversing tops of mountains. It is not an experience for the faint of heart. This year, with the record heat, the race did have its lowest finishing rate of 24%. The running in this race, at some points, it's the easy part. It is staged, so depending on how long it takes you to finish the specific course on that day, in which you also have intermediate cutoffs, so you've got some additional pressure as you roll into the day and then the subsequent days, making sure that you meet the intermediary cutoffs and then the cutoff at the end of the day, which is at 10 o'clock. The distances and cutoffs vary each day, so that's an additional challenge. In addition, the terrain varies every day as you are moving north to south through Wales. At the end of every day, you have a tent in which you're, depending on how long it takes, you have a certain amount of time in which to get your gear squared away, get yourself ready, get yourself prepped, and go on to the next day. You can't bring the whole kitchen sink with you when you go to this race. You are limited at the start of the race on day 1 to 38 pounds of total gear, excluding what you have in your pack for the start. So you have to prioritize what's important to you during this race. Those nice creature comforts that you can't do without, and the ones that you need to part way with. The race will task you physically, emotionally, and psychologically. It will take you to the brink. It's not a race to fancy and to romance. You have to dedicate. You have to go all in, and not going all in just for you. Going in, you have to have your family. You have to have your friends' support. This is not an easy race. I do not think it is for the lighthearted. You have to be dedicated. You have to be committed. During this event, there are runners out there that were far better, far stronger than me in all aspects of the game, and they did not finish. It was an incredible experience. But at the end of the day, much like any other ultra, you got to take care of yourself. You got to take care of the little things. The little things: your food, your nutrition, your hydration. All those little bits, summing it up day after day. Rolling into the race itself, the race management, the organizational is top notch. They will tell you directly. They prioritize in this order: the volunteer and support staff, and then the runners. You quickly see why they prioritize in this fashion during the race. They will not let the runners jeopardize themselves and jeopardize the integrity of the safety team out there. Camp life is phenomenally well organized. The race organization, each day, at the end of every day, they pack up a small city, tent city of 500 to 700 people, compress that, and move it 6 hours later and have it set up for the top finishers. You've got incredible meals. It's vegan throughout the week. You've got incredible support team there on staff. On staff, medical attention is top notch, next to none. But at the end of the day, you start in Conway up north, and you wrap up in Cardiff Castle. It is not easy. The terrain is at times arduous, or you're going up mountains. Stuff like you've never seen here. 25% of the course is completely trackless, which means you're following a map, you're following your GPS watch, and working with the people around you, your fellow runners, to find the best track. So that said, check it out at thedragonsbackrace.com. Hopefully you'll see some additional pictures. But at the end of the day, if you finish, you get to go home with one of these. A dragon with the spine here representing the mountain chain from Cardiff all the way down to, from Conway all the way down to Cardiff. And this is your finisher's award. Like I said, not for the faint of heart. I know there's a number of you out there who can complete this. So check it out and consider it for next year. I think there's a few more spots left. And have a great time out there on the trails, and hopefully myself and Athletic Equation, we will see you next year. We will be releasing our schedule here in a couple days. Take care, and see you all on the trails.
All right, so closing out this episode or this round, and thanks for tuning in, and thanks for supporting us. Thanks for liking this if you found it entertaining and or useful. Thanks for sharing it. Thanks for liking the YouTube channel, and thanks for the support as a whole. Thanks for checking out the Trails Collective store if you've not done so already. Very much appreciated any of those ways of support. All right, so coming up this weekend, let's run you through some of the handful of races. New Hampshire, Bubba's Backyard Ultra will run in Center Conway. New Jersey, the Squatchung Surprise 5-hour, 9-hour in Mountainside. In PA, the Red Barn Challenge 6-hour, 12-hour in Likens. The Blues Cruise 50K in Reading, and the Black Forest 100K in North Bend, PA. And in Virginia, Joe's 11-hour night run in the Hamptons in Hampton, Virginia, and the Thoroughbred Races 50K in La Crosse, Virginia. So that's what's on deck. I've started taking in some videos on basically running encounter or animal encounters out on the run or out on the trail. As I've talked over the years with people, often people have some sort of fun encounter with animals out on the trail. So as events start slowing down late fall, I'm going to start weaving those in. And so if you have any on your own or have any friends who might have any good animal encounter stories, have them send them my way, and we will weave them in. All right, so as always, thanks for tuning in with us with this round of the weekly rundown of Northeast Trail World. And I will check in with you around this time next week. All right, till then, see ya.